Money-saving expert Martin Lewis has warned Britons that they will pay more than any winter before on their energy bills. Millions of householders are set to pay 5% or more for their gas and electricity bills after the energy watchdog Ofgem announced its latest price cap. This will cause dismay among the millions of people across the UK struggling with the cost of living crisis. Let's dive in. Here's everything you need to know. Yes, we all have to get used to being poorer. British society has become more split, with inflation impacting those with lower incomes more drastically, says MoneySavingExpert.com MSE founder Martin Lewis. TV presenter Martin Lewis gave his verdict on the announcement, saying people will pay more this January than any winter before. Last winter, every home got a £66 per month reduction in their bills, but this measure was not put in place again this year. Mr. Lewis explained that while October inflation dropped due to cheaper energy bills, the claim ignores the missing government support. He calculated that each household is, on average, worse off by £28 per month this winter. However, this could rise to an extra £45 per month if factoring in higher winter usage. Citizens Advice warned it was already helping record numbers with energy debt and was seeing more people than ever who can't afford to top up their prepayment meter. Lower inflation is welcome, but there's one thing not being said about the 4.6% October figure. Prices going up during the coldest part of the year will make life harder for millions of people already struggling to pay their bills, said Gillian Cooper, Director of Energy at Citizens Advice. Mid-contract price hikes on broadband and mobile. Ofcom announced a proposal to introduce a new rule requiring that any price written into a customer's contract would need to be set out in pounds and pence prominently and transparently at the point of sale. This is a definite improvement, though based on this proposal, I'll be asking it to consider changing it, so the rise should always be on the lower of CPI inflation or a fixed pounds and pence amount, so the rises can never be above inflation. Clearly, another option is to ban mid-contract rises, though that may inflate the initial contract price, but I'm guessing it's decided against that, so tweaking what it proposes is the most likely influencing point. Regulator Ofgem resets the cap every 3 months, in January, April, July, and October, as the amount paid by a typical household. The latest announcement involves maximum charges for 1 January to 31 March next year. Ofgem said the increase of around £7.83 a month was driven almost entirely by rising costs in the international wholesale energy market due to market instability and global events, particularly the war in Ukraine and Israel-Palestine conflict. Bills for a typical energy user paying by direct debit will rise from £1,084 per year to £1,928, an increase of £94, the regulator said. The idea of a price cap is to ensure that prices for customers on default energy tariffs are a fair reflection of the cost paid by suppliers for wholesale energy, and that the profit firms make is capped. For an average household paying by direct debit, the unit raise will rise from 27p to 29p per kWh for electricity and stay at 7p per kWh for gas. The average daily standing charge will remain at 53p per day for electricity and 30p per day for gas. The cap does not set a maximum amount for individual bills received. Households that use more than the average amount will pay more, and those that use less will pay less. Ofgem Chief Executive Jonathan Brearley said, "This is a difficult time for many people, and any increase in bills will be worrying, but this rise, around the levels we saw in August, is a result of the wholesale cost of gas and electricity rising, which needs to be reflected in the price that we all pay." But the new data has shown a sharp fall in UK inflation, or the rate at which prices are rising. This was 4.6% in the 12 months to October, the lowest figure for nearly 2 years. The government says this means it has met the year's pledge to have inflation, which stood at 10.7% at the end of 2022. He adds, "This time last year, all homes received a reduction from the government that they aren't receiving this year. That's excluded from inflation figures. So on paper, people's energy bills have dropped substantially from this time last year to right now. But in practical terms, of the amount people pay, people are not feeling that energy price benefit because they're not getting the government energy support." The big drop in energy prices is being credited, yet this time last year, all homes got a £66 per month reduction from the government. They don't this year. That's excluded from inflation figures. In practical terms then, what homes typically pay for energy was hardly dropped, so the gain households feel they won't really materialize. Since the broadband, mobile, and pay TV firms will no longer be able to hit customers with inflation-linked price hikes mid-contract under proposals put forward by the telecoms regulator. But while Martin Lewis has welcomed the move, he has also called on Ofcom to ensure that any rises are never above inflation. Price rises could be clearly stated in pounds and pence in the future. Following a review into inflation-linked mid-contract hikes, Ofcom has said practices complicate the process of shopping around and may prevent people from switching altogether. It added that consumer awareness and understanding of inflation-linking terms was also very low. The regulator is now proposing a ban on inflation-linked price hikes altogether and is instead proposing two new solutions. Providers are fixing the price for the entirety of the contract or forcing providers to outline any mid-contract increase at the point of sale by a pounds and pence amount. However, any changes are still a while off. Ofcom will be first consult on its proposals. The deadline to do so is 13 February 2024. It then plans to publish a final decision in spring 2024, with any changes set to take force 4 months later. Martin has repeatedly called for above-inflation mid-contract hikes to be banned. Commenting on today's announcement, Martin said he would ask Ofcom to consider changing its proposal so that any price rise would always be the lower of CPI, Computer Prices Index, inflation, or a fixed pounds and pence amount. Currently, it's common practice for providers to hike up prices midway through a contract by the rate of inflation, plus an extra percentage on top. However, inflation remains unknown until it's formally announced, so it's always unclear how much your contract will increase. Earlier this year, we saw contracts rise by as much as 17.3%. For a family with home broadband, pay TV, and several mobile subscriptions, these increases could amount to hundreds of pounds a year. Plus, when a price hike happens, you usually can't leave penalty-free, as most contracts state that these price rises can take place. Broadband, mobile, and TV firms have millions of customers who are out of contract and have simply been rolled on to often pricier tariffs without signing up for them. But if that's you, you can leave at any point penalty-free. And given the best broadband, mobile, and TV deals tend to be for newbies, there's a good chance you're overpaying anyway. For broadband or TV, check your online account on your provider's website or contact its customer service. If you're still in contract, shop around and find a new deal as your contract end date approaches. If you're out of contract, you're likely to be overpaying. In most broadband and mobile cases, you just need to contact your new provider and it'll take care of the switch. The process is different when switching broadband to or from Virgin Media or between pay TV providers. Want to keep your mobile number? Text PAC to 65075. You'll be given a code to send to your new provider, which will transfer your number for you within 1 working day. It's usually only a couple of hours or downtime. So that's all for today. What do you think about the new regulatory bills? Comment down your thoughts and don't forget to like and subscribe for more. See ya!